Hello, today I'm interviewing Amber Whites with Department of Human Services of Oklahoma, and she is a adult and family services social worker who specializes in long-term care and Medicaid. So, Amber, does the social work in a unit of their agency? Wait. Oh, do you?
Yes, I am in a unit. I'm in the Adult and Family Services unit, but how Adult and Family Services is set up, there's like normal Adult and Family Services, which is like SNAP, which is food, or commonly known as food stamps, and then what's called ABD Medicaid in this state. Other states provide Medicaid to multiple populations. In this state, we only do it for aged, blind, and disabled.
Oh.
And then, so that's one section, and I'm trained in that section, but that's not what I specialize in. I do long-term care Medicaid, which is nursing homes, Advantage services, and Medicaid that specializes in elderly.
Hi. Can I just pause it? Okay. I'll be right back.
Pause. So one difference is like I can help, long-term care can help adult and family services, which is, we use that term because they're just basically SNAP and ABD. We can help them, but they can never help us because they don't know our program.
So SNAP can't help you?
Nope. I can cover SNAP, but they can't help me.
What was the other one?
ABD Medicaid, which is just age, blind, disabled.
Oh, okay.
They, in theory, could probably help us, but they've never done it. Some of our stuff is more in depth compared to theirs.
Okay. So are they in the same building as you guys? Okay.
We're all in the same, and we have cubicles, and so, I sit across from a girl who does just normal AFS, SNAP, and Medicaid.
Very good. So who all does your agency serve, and what type of services does it provide? You kind of mentioned that already.
And in my office, so there's AFS. Our office is run by AFS, the Adult and Family Services. But there's other portions of the agency held there. Like we have child welfare, we have adoption, we have adult protective services. Who else? We have DDSD, which is the Developmental Disabilities. So there's lots of different parts of the agency housed there, and we're all in a very open area. So if I have a question about APS, I can go to the APS worker.
Okay.
So
you don't have to worry about the emailing back and forth or the delay in time with that.
No, not if I'm working with those specific people. It works perfect.
Yeah, that's great. So what funding does the agency get?
It's state funding.
Okay.
So it's at the state level, and we receive some federal. So SNAP or food stamps, that's a federal.
Okay.
Medicaid is federal, but Medicaid is federal funding, but the state determines standards. So our standards are different than Kansas. We have a 5-year look back where I have to look back 5 years of financial history, and Kansas only has a 3-year.
Oh wow.
So it's determined by the state a little bit there.
So how long, if someone were to apply today, when would they be able to get their food stamps by?
Food stamps, we have what's called first contact resolution. So if we have access to all the verifications that we need, we could get them on today.
Okay.
But if we're waiting on certain things, if we're waiting on some sort of verification, we normally can get it done in about 10 days.
Okay. So what all do they have to be able to get verified?
For food stamps, they need income, any earned income, we have access to Social Security. But if you want to get it right away, we can put in a request to Social Security, but it normally takes 5 to 10 business days for us to get it back.
Okay.
And when we say it's a request, I don't put in a paper form. We have this old school coding system where I digitally put in my code, and then it pulls it back to me.
Okay.
But that, like I said, that can take 5 to 10 business days. So if they want it that day, they should bring in their award letter.
Okay.
And then
so a lot of there's some young moms that are in school and they're just focusing on school while their children go to early Head Start or another child care center. Are they able to? Can they use their grants or their student loans as income in order to get food stamps?
No. So yes and no. So here's the thing. You can get grants and student loans, we don't count that as income. So you can say, because one thing we also ask is how much you pay for rent, things like that. We ask a lot of in-depth conversations. And one thing I didn't mention that Adult and Family Services also does that you remind me of is we also do the daycare program. So, where the state helps pay for that. But for student loans and grants, that's not countable income. So they might say, we pay $500 in rent, but and with zero income. And we often ask, well, how do you afford your rent if you have no income coming in? And they say, well, we use our grants and our loans. And so we then count the rent amount because they are paying it.
Right.
But it's with income that we're not counting. So we have zero income on that case with rent. So that often means that they get more benefits.
Right.
Because
they're in the negative.
Yes, they're in the negative. And I mean, the way the state also looks at it is that might be money that's in your hand now, but 5 years from now you have to pay it back.
Right, for sure. So what would you say are two or three tasks that you engage in on a daily or weekly basis?
Interviewing clients. I do interviews daily, as well as requesting different verifications, whether it's bank statements from a bank, cash or face value of a life insurance, all those types of things, and then reviewing all those documents. So it can take a while to review 5 years of bank statements.
Right.
So I normally do a lot of that. Those are probably the main tasks I do. I'll assist any client that walks in.
What'd you say?
I'll assist any client that walks in, like if
that
they
was
need help filling out forms or.
So are all these interviews, are they over the phone mainly, or you can do
it in person. I would say 98% of them are over the phone.
Okay.
Very rarely do I deal with a lot of people in person nowadays because
right.
of the technology. Also, the state of Oklahoma is district-wide, so I'm over 5 counties. So sometimes the people I'm dealing with are in Enid, Oklahoma, and I'm in El Reno.
Right, for sure. So that's an inconvenience for them to drive, especially if they lack transportation.
Yes.
Which they might need help with funding. And then on the bank statements, do you have to look at every detail of that, or do you? Okay.
And we have a little bit of leniency in the fact that, so sometimes you don't know you're about to enter a nursing home, obviously.
You don't know what?
You don't know you're about to enter a nursing home.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes we have people who are in their 50s, a dramatic accident happens, and they have to enter a nursing home. Well, they're not prepared
Absolutely.
for that. So we obviously give a little bit of leeway, and, you need to be able to live your life. But if I'm noticing super large transfers to your children, I'm going to have some questions about that. And if it's just like you were giving money away, according to Medicaid law, you can't give money away to become eligible for a Medicaid program.
I see.
So we do have to know, we have to account for all the large amounts.
Right. So what do you think would be, what would be your range that you don't have to account for? Is that a number that you feel comfortable with, or is that a standard?
There's not a set standard. It's normal spending. It's what we consider normal spending. So if grandma gives you $100 every year on your birthday, that's normal spending.
Okay.
Now, if right before they're supposed to enter the nursing home, that amount goes to $1,000, that's not normal spending.
Right, okay.
Oftentimes, too, if religious things, like if you're Catholic and you tithe,
mm-hmm.
that's a normal. Now, if that were to go from $200 a month to $1,000, again, that's
right. So any jump in majors and numbers
yes.
really catches the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in a supervisor capacity?
No, No, I have a supervisor and I'm not over anybody, but I am on a leadership board for long-term care services. So
okay.
we're helping to build more policy. So we have a website, policy website that people can go on to, and it's not really built for our program well.
Uh-huh.
So we're part of that and trying to write the policy in a way that's understandable because sometimes it's so every case is different.
Okay, right.
And how that policy applies, there's a little bit of gray, and you sometimes have to interpret that.
Right. How many? You might have mentioned earlier, but how many clients would you say that you see each week? Or how many?
Week? It depends. So there's certain times. It sounds terrible, but there's certain times of the year where people will put people in a nursing home more often than not.
Really?
Yeah. There's high times of.
What time of year would that be?
There's winter time, but around like Christmas and stuff is actually, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, that's depressing.
And then spring.
Okay. Excuse me again. I guess I should have. Resume. So you said winter and spring are the
my
busier times.
Busiest times, but I carry a standard caseload of 600.
Oh wow!
And then we have new apps coming in. Right now, I have about 24 new apps I'm working.
So how long would it take for you to get your those 24 new caseloads? How long would it take you to get those all finalized and the individuals and services that they need?
It depends. Depends on what type of resources they have. Also, my deadline is 45 days.
Okay.
But there's sometimes there's extenuating circumstances that means I can give them a little bit more leeway. And there's times where they've had services before, so it's super easy to get it completed.
You can pull their file back.
Yep, I can get it done the same day. But
nice.
Those are very rare.
Right. Would you say that you have to do any type of interventions with your clientele, or?
The biggest intervention I probably have to do is getting APS involved.
Okay.
Making a referral or working with the APS workers or police in, if we are ethically responsible, that if there's some sort of hint of abuse,
right,
to make that referral. And so there's more than just physical abuse. There's financial exploitation. So if I'm going through bank statements and I notice a lot of money and this person doesn't, there's a dementia diagnosis and
right,
power of attorney and they're taking hundreds of thousands of dollars, that's something where we have to get somebody involved.
Okay. That would probably. Would you say that's your most stressful part of your job, doing that, or do you feel comfortable with that without having a confrontation?
When I first started, it was probably my most stressful.
Uh-huh.
Now, I don't think it's my most stressful. I've kind of gotten used to, and they start calling you some mean and offensive names, and when it comes down to it, I've been called cold and impersonal and things like that. When it comes down to it, you're right. I am, because I'm on the client side.
Right.
I'm not on the exploitator side.
Right.
I don't.
That's not what you're out there to do.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be their friend.
Would you say, do you engage in micro, meso, or macro practices?
I would say a little bit of all of them, and the fact that there are some very detailed aspects, like going through the bank statements, going through all that, and I have to deal with some large organizations in that, dealing with a nursing home, I have to have a relationship with the nursing home.
Right.
But as far as it comes to the client, I'm a little step back in the fact that I determine financial eligibility, and then I'm pretty much done. I redetermine every year, but some of my clients don't even get to meet me face to face.
Okay.
So there is a big separation.
Right.
So I'm probably a little bit of all.
Sounds like it. So what would you say the two things are that you like the most about your job?
Feeling like I make a difference.
Yeah.
Some of these clients, we're getting them the medical care that they need. All clients are getting them the medical care that we need. And then there are parts of it that are really interesting, like going through the Medicaid law is really kind of interesting to me.
Really?
Yeah. And then trying to decipher a problem, so there's some times where we're there's different income and resource standards, but there's different policies that we can implement to help them. There's Medicaid income pension trust and this and that, and there's different ways we can help make them eligible. If there's different ways to spend down money that can benefit you, and just kind of advising and giving options and helping them figure out what's the best choices for them.
Whenever I was a case manager for people with disabilities, we always had to do a spend down because they could only have I think it was they can have more than $2,000 in their account.
Yep, $2,000 or below.
So we would always go furniture shopping because that was always acceptable. Mm-hmm. And who doesn't like new furniture?
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say you like the least?
I don't love interacting with the nursing homes. They don't always understand our side of it. I understand that they want to get paid, and that one way to do that is to get the Medicaid on, but I don't think they realize how difficult it is for us to get the verifications that we need.
Yeah.
Especially if you are working with a client with dementia who doesn't remember where they spent $5,000.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. So that's probably my least favorite. And dealing with some of the difficult clients where it doesn't seem to be any give or take. There's no understanding on, I tried to give you empathy, but you're not understanding why I need something.
Right.
And kind of being combative.
Do you ever find yourself in like a triangle between like the nursing home financial person and the client and the guardian or?
Yes, definitely. And you often end up feeling like the bad guy. Like for some reason, because I'm the one that's saying that I need this or you can't get that I'm the bad guy, when in reality, I'm just doing my job.
And it's all your fault.
Yep.
Because you're the messenger.
It's like I picked that policy, and that's the law.
Right. Absolutely. Why do you continue to work in social work?
I do like the making a difference part. Good benefits.
Yeah. Working for the state, I'm sure you get good benefits.
A little bit of flexibility in my schedule. I have to get my 40 hours, but if I have a family emergency or something, they're definitely family oriented.
Yeah.
So looking down in the future, that will be important when you have kids and such.
Right. And what would be one thing that you would change about the social work career field?
I wish some of these benefits were available to all. Like there wasn't, there's the standard of income, and therefore, especially with nursing home, but there's a max to that, and the max is not how much it is to keep somebody in a nursing home for a month.
What do you mean by that?
So it costs about $6,000 a month to keep somebody in a nursing home. Our max standard is $4,500. So if somebody makes over $4,500, they don't qualify for Medicaid. But if they make $4,500, they also can't afford to pay $6,000 a month. So if there was a way where some of these benefits, and I understand it's for low income individuals, but at the same time, because nursing home rates keep going higher,
that's a big gap.
It is, and how are they supposed to supplement that? Their family has to step in. There's different ways it just making it so that there wasn't that huge gap, making it so that, just because somebody has a certain amount of money coming in doesn't, you can't pay that
right
huge bill, but you're not considered low income, so you don't qualify.
Right.
So it doesn't seem, I don't want to use the word fair, but it doesn't seem fair that that's how it's written and things like that.
No, it doesn't seem fair, because I've encountered with people who say they can't afford to be in a nursing home, and I've always told them about, I asked them if Medicaid or Medicare would help pay for it, and they say that it's still too expensive, so that makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So, what would you recommend for future social workers to make their careers, or to prepare for their future careers in social work?
I don't know how to answer that very well, other than absorb as much as you can in school, because even if you think you're not going to use it, I'm sure down the line you will.
Yeah, it'll come back to you.
Yep. And I guess build up, you kind of have to build up an exterior, like a tough exterior to handle all this.
Well, that's good advice. I like that. Well, I think that wraps up our wonderful time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem.